My name's Anthony. I am the concierge, the boatsman, and a docent, a teacher. So I have a multitude of jobs, from fixing things to maintaining things to teaching. So a little bit of everything, just like on a boat. I'm originally from Australia. Started when I was a little kid, sailing optimists at my yacht club in Melbourne. That's where I learned to sail. And then you get further in the steps. I worked for a yacht charter company, Sunsail, in the Caribbean and in the Mediterranean and in England. And then bumped into a big charter ship, the Dutch charter ship in the Caribbean, and jumped on board there, sailed around. Of course, I started as a deckhand, just pretty much like everybody, on a Dutch charter ship. But if you want to further your career, you need papers. So I also came to the Zeevaartschool here. I did the first year. Then the school was only in Dutch. So anybody could come to the school, but everybody was speaking Dutch. The teachers were Dutch, the books were Dutch, the exams were Dutch, everything was Dutch. The Thursday night before school started, I went to the bookshop. I bought some books, some pens and papers, and of course a dictionary. But now it's a lot easier. It's for external students, international students. After Kleine Zeilvaart, I was working on a boat, the Lotus. I did that for a couple of years. I helped build up the Lotus. And they were moored up in a harbor in Rotterdam. And in front of the Lotus was the Oosterschelde. So after a few years, I jumped onto the Oosterschelde. Started as a deckhand and then as a boatsman. And then I wanted to go a little bit further. So if you want to go further, we want some more papers. So I came back to do the second year in the Grote Zeilvaart. Then I moved up to be first mate. We were up in Spitsberg in the north, and you could see that when the charts were made, the difference between when the charts were made and what you now physically see, you could see the glaciers moving back in. So you're sailing in areas that were not even charted. And that was in, 1960 was the last official making of the charts. And then now the difference between that was quite alarming to see. The changes in environment is quite huge. Yeah, my favorite ship, I think probably because I stayed there on such a long time, I really like the Oosterschelde because of the form, the shape. It's a beautiful looking boat just to look at. It has an incredibly rich history of how it was and then how it got converted. And then got converted back to the way it was. So that's kind of a really strange story behind the boat. But also the philosophy behind the Oosterschelde, because it's the only 3-mast topsail schooner still sailing. I also appreciate a lot of other boats. There's a lot of boats that are converted from a tugboat to a sailing boat or a fishing boat to a sailing boat. Yeah, a role model. I'd probably have to say Bernd. I used to read quite a lot of the old stories about old sailors and things, and old logbooks of like the Kattezaak, which is also an amazing boat. If you ever get the chance, you have to go to Greenwich to have a look. It's fantastic. Probably the old school captains, the way they did with the things that they had, no technology, no Musto, Helly Hansen jackets and stuff like that. It was just pure, simple sailing. When international students come over here, they have pretty much nothing. So I thought it would be nice that if people come here, what's the best way to see Holland? And that's with bicycles. So they could use a bike for the winter. And then just to make them a bit funny, I paint them all different colors. It's a simple thing, but it makes a lot of people happy. The school in such a small town in Holland is so important in the sailing community. I think if you look at all the Dutch boats sailing around, that pretty much everybody that is a first mate, captain or around there have been to this school. All the teachers are sailing, were sailing, have sailed, and are very passionate about what they do, and they want to communicate that to the next generation. I think that's one of the strongest points. I think when you're a kid, you see the boats like in Sail Amsterdam. I was always amazed at how many people would come and have a look, but you kind of forget about how incredible it is because you work on the boat all the time. And when you go to Sail Amsterdam, you look over the quay and you see millions of people, but you see all the little small kids. And I remember as a kid also sailing in a small boat in the harbors, and then you see these big, massive boats sailing past. And I always wanted to do that. And eventually, you do all the right things, and I ended up there. I think just to do the things you say you're gonna do, try and be a good person, try and help others.
Thank you for the bike. I got one as well.
Bye!
Bye.